2021 한-아세안 문화혁신포럼을 통해 우리가 상상했던 일들이 현실이 되길 바라면서 두 번째 세션의 문을 열어보겠습니다. 두 번째 세션의 주제는 기술이 문화예술을 만날 때로 문화기술 산업을 대표하는 아세안 기업의 CEO분들과 함께합니다. 기술과 문화가 융합된 새로운 산업을 개척하신 분들의 실질적인 경험과 지식과 노하우를 들을 수 있는 기회로 기대하셔도 좋습니다. 네, 그럼 빠르게 소개해드리겠습니다. 세션 2의 첫 번째 발표는 싱가포르 최초 가상현실 플랫폼 운영자이자 또 AR과 VR 스타트업 iMMERSiVELY의 대표 리오넬 척님께서 수고해 주시겠습니다.
Hello, my name is Lionel, and thank you very much again for having me as part of your summit. Please allow me to share more about what I'm going to present today. I currently run iMMERSiVELY, a XR development company based in Singapore. This year, we have very exciting news to share. We were acquired by TOFS Technologies. We actually develop custom bespoke applications across many businesses and verticals, from marketing, arts, culture, training, and so on and so forth. And we develop these applications across different platforms and technologies like AR, VR, MR, 360 content. Having been acquired by TOFS Technologies, we now have offices and presence in Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. But of course, my sharing today really comes from my background in various portfolios and profiles that I have undertaken over the years. And I would like to share with you some of these observations and also my presentation based on these different backgrounds and experiences. In Singapore specifically, tech and art and culture is actually everywhere. And especially with the pandemic, we can see that it's gone a lot digital and online. And that hasn't really stopped the development of arts and culture with XR in terms of where the pandemic is. So we saw a lot of VR galleries, we saw a lot of VR works, and we saw a lot of gamification and digital works that have really opened up. Particularly for examples such as the National Heritage Board, they have gone ahead over this period of 18 months to actually commission and also appoint more and more creators to explore creations in AR, VR, and even games as well. Now, we ourselves were the benefits of this, so we actually got commissioned over the past 18 months and even as early as 2018 in terms of VR installation and also AR works as well. In 2019, we have the opportunity and chance to actually be appointed by the Arts Council here in Singapore to actually stage a 10-day event at the location based in Singapore where we saw new artists try to create new works in XR for the very first time. And this was actually on site where they're able to come and try out the AR VR itself. During that event itself, there are a lot of people that are able to come and experience physical explorations of different works in XR, as you can see. And the whole experience, where it's very tactile and personal, was very different than what we experience now. But of course, with COVID-19, not everything has been reduced to nothing. Actually, a lot more digital and online explorations in XR has emerged. And this was something that I also shared last year as well, as I tried to speak to more creators to look into how they can digitize their works. And we can see some of these actually taking place in Singapore, and more so from different government bodies and also different technologies as well, such as AI, and with our National Art Council actually opening up a tech and arts lab to talk about and innovate with regards to arts and technology. Another cultural institution known as the National Gallery of Singapore also organized online sessions as well and introduced over 100 attendees to talk about where XR is, what is the state of XR, and how they can actually explore their different arts and culture ideas in XR. So by and large, we see a lot of these still taking place and happening as well. But I think more importantly, I want to share with you some of these updates, from such an article or report that I've extracted. A few things that we can take note of is moving forward, we can see a lot of events are now going into hybrid, where we have a small group of physical audience And also the event or the installation is online for those who are online to experience. We also start to see a lot of the galleries starting to let the creators know that their works need to be publicized and online via social media for people to come to know about their works as well. And we also see that a lot more works, for example, in this article by Singapore Art Week, SAW, that actually saw artworks that's being taken out from the gallery into bus stops, car parks, and really outdoor venues. And more importantly, more creators are starting to explore and continue to push forward to explore the art in AR/VR. Another observation that I've noticed is the fact that this is not just an occurrence that's happening in Singapore, but we also see this everywhere around the world, like in Cannes and in online museums, and even game engines like Steam. And most recently, we're talking about games and the metaverse being different explorations for what creators can do as well. So we should need to keep an eye out for this, because the world is really becoming smaller, where we can access a lot of these new works online. So to end off a quick presentation here, just to mention, a lot more arts and tech and culture explorations have now emerged for new forms of art that's coming up, not just in XR, game art, virtual worlds, virtual beings, even crypto as well as NFT, as you might be aware of, and how creators are no longer afraid of combining different tech, such as AI and IoT, into their works. So in a good way, the world is now your stage, and what we used to think about in terms of exploring the world in the sense of coming to a physical space is no longer the case. Where creators need to think about is how to actually expand your world, your works, so that it can be seen by the world. Yep, that's my short presentation. I hope you've benefited much from it. My name is Lionel Chok, and again, love to connect with all of you here listening to this presentation and then this summit. Thanks so much.
네, 말씀 감사합니다. 크리에이터들은 이제 더 이상 기술을 결합하는 것에 대해서 두려워하지 않는다. 그리고 또한 세상은 이제 크리에이터들의 무대다라는 말씀이 정말 감동적이었고 또 깊게 와닿습니다. 세션 2의 두 번째 발표는 필리핀의 Tropical Futures Institute의 대표입니다. 바로 크리스토퍼 퍼스너님께서 준비해 주셨는데요. Tropical Futures Institute는 필리핀을 중심으로 한 아티스트 그룹이고요. 싱크탱크와 유사한 종합 스튜디오를 포지셔닝해서 다양한 활동을 하고 있습니다. 또 최근에는 필리핀, 두바이, 싱가포르 아트페어에서 메타버스와 NFT, 뉴 미디어 세션 등의 큐레이팅에도 참여를 했다고 합니다. 또 오늘은 문화예술과 미술 시장의 성장을 위한 메타버스와 기술의 중요성에 대해서 말씀해 주신다고 합니다. 그럼 크리스토퍼 퍼스너님을 지금 바로 만나보겠습니다.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Fussner from the Tropical Futures Institute, based out of Cebu, Philippines. Thank you for inviting me to present and speak about some of the work I've been doing in the Philippines and in the metaverse at large. First off, I'm basically a multidisciplinary designer and researcher, and I started working on Tropical Futures Institute around 4 to 5 years ago as a side project. And it's only really been the last few years we've really started to go more full-time. The team is myself, Sayoka, and AG, and it's positioned as a multidisciplinary studio slash think tank of sorts. And primarily prior to the pandemic, we had been doing a number of localized events in the Philippines, specifically Cebu, Philippines. So we hosted a residency program. We used to do a bunch of in-gallery events with this partner gallery in Cebu, primarily targeted towards new media, zine fest, parties, music. It was a very transdisciplinary, flat sort of curatorial direction that we took on with the gallery there. And we would have a yearly residency with friends and friends of friends of TFI. And more recently, we started working with artists as sort of an artist management studio. and going to art fairs such as Art Dubai, Art Fair Philippines, Art Singapore, C-Focus, and other activities include curatorial. This last year, we had the honor of curating the NFT section of Art Fair Philippines, as well as a new media section of National Gallery. We were a response curator. And also we produce objects and different sort of, I guess, artifacts. So today I'm going to be sharing about a recent show we curated and co-curated thanks to Art Fair Philippines alongside Colin Goltra and Gabby Dizon. And it's basically, it was titled Welcome to the Metaverse. And the primary objective of this section that was part of the digital art fair of Art Fair Philippines was to explore NFTs, Web3, and the metaverse at large, and particularly related to crypto, though, related to NFTs. And yeah, it came at a very opportune time. I mean, like when we started the project, it was very much a fringe thing, and it wasn't as trendy as the year led up. And you know, the months beforehand, things really started to explode, and we expanded the program and really just covered several core pillars of looking at you know, people that had been working with NFTs and smart contracts as artists, to blue chip participants, to the local community in the Philippines that is part of the NFT community, as well as looking at the more new wave of crypto art and NFT participants. It's an important moment just because I think, you know, outside of all the digital aesthetics and the hype and the prices, you know, the purpose of the section was to really show the door towards, you know, hopefully the next iteration of the internet, which is titled Web3. And, you know, it was extremely pertinent to be, you know, having Art Fair Philippines be one of the first art fairs to have an NFT and Metaverse Web3 section. And as that really coincides with the growing digital literacy and accessibility to internet in the Philippines. And that's with growing, you know, growing internet penetration in terms of more people having access to smartphones, to data becoming cheaper. And, you know, as a lot of people might already know, we're labeled as the social media capital of the world with the highest, I think, per capita usage of Facebook. So, you know, although that sounds just, you know, perhaps a little dystopic in regards to the highest social media usage, it does also point towards like a growing, you know, data literacy and web literacy sort of demographic, which is really ushering in this, they call it a golden demographic, where the majority of the population is younger. And, you know, this sort of youthful composition of the population alongside what is called the Iron Triangle, which is like e-commerce, financial tools, and logistics, can really create the next economic revolution in the Philippines in a domestic sense, which is amazing. And I think one of the proponents of that is the app Kumu, alongside Gcash and a few other Web2 startups. So Kumu is a streaming platform that encourages creators to sing, dance, talk, have sort of conversation panels, to karaoke, and that's sort of like bridging in this like new wave of creator-based media. Gcash is a payments platform that's really kicking off after COVID, and we have this amazing logistical battle between all these companies trying to secure shipping and logistic routes within the Philippines. So you combine this with the seed of Web3, where we have companies like Guild Games, which is en route to become one of the fastest unicorns in Southeast Asia and within the Philippines. You have other guilds and Web3 companies such as BlueMex and Blockchain Space, and a lot of these companies are really paving the way for like the next space for the internet, and whether it's gaming through NFTs and through play to earn, or people creating digital art and getting compensated appropriately for it. There's definitely a moment, and it's within this sort of time that we see this watershed sort of transition, and this phase transition into a more digitized economy in the Philippines, and that is definitely represented in some of the cultural output. Also to mention, Outplay Games, as well as other platforms that are really leading the way and creating sort of new avenues for people to interact with the digital economy, whether it's through creator platforms or through crypto led digital currency decentralized initiatives. And alongside of that, we also have a plethora of a burgeoning new media and digital art scene. Not to mention the independent film and cinema industry in the Philippines is already extremely strong internationally. But from within, we have a rising class of new media digital artists using techniques from virtual reality to creating internet-based environments, such as Club Matryoshka, which creates these Minecraft levels where they host these parties where they have hundreds of people from all around the world attend their party, to artists like Cologne doing more generative, adversarial neural network art, and then some of the older guard, such as James Clark, doing more new media video and sort of analog electronic installations. And all these things combined are really pointing towards a new future for the Philippines, but as well as for Southeast Asia, in terms of really having this our digital moment where we have this trifecta of e-commerce, finance, logistics, but also culture. And I think culture is a huge leading indicator for how our economy will shape up and grow around the region. And we've already seen how this sort of digital economy can greatly improve and impact economies such as the US, and certain economies in Europe, and South Korea. And we can see how that shift is already happening for ourselves in Southeast Asia, as more and more of the population becomes digital and immerses themselves into this digital world. So it's a bright future across all spectrums, I think, in ASEAN and in the Philippines. Thank you.
네, 한 지역의 경제가 어떻게 형성되고 성장할 것인지에 대한 선도적 지표가 바로 문화라고 생각하신다는 말씀에 공감합니다. 이것이 바로 우리가 문화와 기술로 함께 성장해야 하는 이유인 것 같습니다. 네, 이제 세션2의 마지막 발표입니다. 인도네시아의 WIR 그룹의 대표이신 다니엘 수루아님을 만날 차례인데요. WIR 그룹은 2001년 설립 이후에 싱가포르, 태국, 미국, 스페인 등의 20여 개국에 진출한 아시아 최대 증강현실 기업입니다. 전 세계에서 인정받는 인도네시아의 대표 기업으로부터 인도네시아의 VR과 AR 현황과 미래 가능성에 대해서 전해주신다고 하는데요. 지금 다니엘 수루아님 바로 만나보시죠.
I'm Daniel Surya. I'm the co-founder and executive chairman of WIR Group. It's a company basically that built AR solution and platform for global market. WIR has been around for 10 years. In fact, it's more than 10 years. And I'm so delighted representing the full senior management team and management team of the company to be able to present at ASEAN-ROK Culture Innovation Summit 2021. WIR is basically focusing in delivering the most exciting AR platform from our end. I mean, we definitely started our journey from Indonesia and reaching global market. So we've been able to deliver more than 1,000 plus projects in 20 countries. Uniquely, we do own 5 global PCT patents on AR and its solutions. But the most exciting part is as a matter of fact, we've been able to push interesting accolades to show a few of our interesting milestones and journey. We are 2 years in a row Best Augmented Reality Company campaign by AWE out of Silicon Valley. It was in, I think, 2015, 2016. And also being able to represent our own countries in World Economic Forums back in 2019 and 2020. It was in January 2020. In immersing art, content, and augmented reality, we've been so grateful that we received a few interesting challenges over the years. I think I just picked 4 main interesting projects that can represent the topic today. So our first assignment was basically a project coming from Spain. We worked together with Saldana. Saldana is basically one of the largest kids publishing book in Spain. They wanted the kids that normally read books becoming more interactive digitally, and also at the same time increasing revenue for the company. So what we did was very interesting. We partnered with them and launched the first AR kind of kids book in Spain. So when people buy the book, the parents buy the book, give it to the kids, download the app for free, the kids can experience magic. The second project that I want to kind of share with you all today that lean towards more art, which is the Hendra Gunawan painting. Hendra Gunawan is one of the renowned global painters. He's Indonesian, so this project means something for us, for our country, because this signaled the first AR painting in Southeast Asia. It is run back 6-7 years ago. That project kind of helped our company leaping to another kind of different dimension in terms of, wow, AR can do much for a offline world where it combines painting, traffic that comes to the museum, and the whole interactivity that sets totally differently. The third project that also I would say this is kind of a content art and AR on the O2O market that really interests many people, because when Tokopedia, one of the e-commerce giant, came to us and they brought BTS with them, the assignment was very simple. We want to reach Indonesian that has basically less penetration on the internet. As you know, internet penetration in Asia is like 60%, mainly covering the first tier cities or second tier, but the second, the third, fourth tier cities, they kind of still in the midst of getting their internet done, right? So how do they meet BTS? So this is a project that we did for Tokopedia. So as you can see, we brought a big screen, BTS popping up right in front of the big fans and interact with the whole Indonesian. So it's amazing, exciting project that led us to many more projects with similar kind of a concept. But last but not least, as you all know, the future of AR is not only disrupting kind of a content model, but the one that we believe that also disrupted is the form of screens that we use every day. It could be your handphone screen or television screen, but we believe the future will be frameless. So we are so honored when we got a project together with Microsoft. So Microsoft sent us the first kind of a HoloLens in Indonesia. We worked again with another painter, which is a totally cool painter. His name is Mokhtar Sarman. He has this Astro Boy painting. So this is for the first time back in 2017. We launched the AR glasses painting exhibition in Indonesia. As you can see in the video, the total experience is there. And definitely, using glasses, you will get a different experience rather than just phones. So these 4 projects, we believe just a first small milestone for an AR future moving forward. I'm delighted to be able to share more. This will lead basically to a more kind of interesting metaverse of the futures for not only for Indonesia but also for global market.
네, 말씀 감사합니다. 지금은 우리에게 너무나도 소중한 스마트폰도 기술이 다양해지면 더 이상 사용하지 않는 시대가 오겠죠. 올까요? 정말? 지금은 우리가 무엇인지도 모르는 틀이 없는 기술, 틀이 없는 미래가 금방 찾아올 것만 같은 그런 느낌이 드네요. 다시 한번 좋은 말씀 감사합니다. 자, 이번 순서는 연사분들과 함께하는 라이브 토론 시간입니다. 라이브 토론은 세션의 주제인 기술이 문화예술을 만날 때를 중심으로 진행이 되고요. 또 시청자분들께서 올려주신 질문에 대한 답변으로 진행이 됩니다. 네, 이번에도 정말 많은 분들께서 질문을 남겨주고 계신데요. 우선 연사분들을 먼저 모셔보겠습니다. Hello. Could you please wave to the camera if you could hear me? Yes, everybody. Hello, hello. So I prepared some greetings for you. Hello, Mr. Lionel Chok. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to see you. And Kamusta, Mr. Flushner.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you,
Hello.
Kamusta. And hello, Mr. Surua.
Hi, hello. Nice to
Hello.
meet you.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for your insightful speeches. Yes. Where many people are joining us live right at this moment, and many people are giving us many feedbacks and questions about the speeches. Thank you so much. 네, 세 분 모두 원활하게 연결된 것 같습니다. 그럼 본격적으로 Q&A 세션, 라이브 토론 시간 시작하겠습니다. 우선 세션 2의 연사분들은 기술과 문화가 융합된 새로운 산업을 개척하고 또 기업 설립을 통해 영역을 확장하신다는 공통점이 있는데요. 우선 공통 질문을 드려보겠습니다. Let me start with a question for all 3 speakers. So how does the audience in your country respond to the new trends and changes integrating culture and technology? Now that culture and technology works together, it comes as one. So my question is, how does the audience in your country respond and react to such changes? Could we hear from Mr. Chok first?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for that interesting question. Actually, I think with a lot of creators in this space being excited to create new works with these digital technologies, this question really throws light to the audience because usually we don't hear or see from them until they try the experience. And right now, even when it's hard to see them at a physical venue, you can't really see their expression, or their response to the works. And most of the time it's online, so it becomes quite difficult. But I think by and large, a lot of things that move into this space, we see that their emotions have changed. Even though they might not be totally wowed by seeing something online, we know that it's worked for them because these works are not evoking like a mundane face or no experience. So I think while it's difficult to give a full answer to the fact that a lot of these audiences might actually respond by maybe means of writing a review, then we know that they are actually excited about what they have experienced. But I think on the other hand, when it's online and digital and going into the metaverse, we are able to reach, as I mentioned in my presentation, a really wide audience. And from that wide audience, allow somebody from US, from London to come into contact with you, as opposed to previously when you are in a physical space in the country where you're from. So I think that's really an interesting direction of where we're going right now. And hopefully post-pandemic, we can actually allow for what we're doing right now, which is in-person, physical, and also online. And then I think the new works with technology will allow our audience base to be international from day one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chalk, for your answer. I agree with you that it's really hard to tell what people are feeling by just seeing by communicating with them online. I mean, it's hard to see their emotion. Are they laughing? Are they crying? You don't know what's going on behind the camera, because it's different seeing them offline and online. I completely agree with your answer. Thank you. 네. Mr. Chalk께서는 이제 아무래도 좀 어려운 질문이라고 하셨어요. 아무래도 개인의 취향이나 나이, 세대에 따라서 받아들여지는 정도가 다를 수 있기 때문이라고 답변해 주셨는데요. 너무 공감하는 내용이었습니다. 다음은 Mr. Fussner님을 통해서 필리핀 관객들의 반응을 살펴보겠습니다. Next up, can we hear from Mr. Fussner?
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think in regards to how the audience are receiving certain technological innovations in regards to the online space, the metaverse, miniverses. I would say in the Philippines, everyone is very much in a space of almost a technological leapfrog. And what I mean by that is that people are ready and willingly sort of adopting new technologies as they come. And I think if certain things like smartphone proliferation was faster, or if telcos weren't price gouging consumers and data was more affordable, there would be way more technological adoption within the Philippines, and could definitely accelerate digital economy in the space. But during COVID, the silver lining is that a lot of because of how we were restricted in the lockdown, which is still pretty much going on right now, we saw a huge uptake and adoption in a lot of digital applications, especially everything from digital payments to streaming services, and I think there's something, we have our own little tech sort of ecosystem starting to grow and develop homegrown apps that are really addressing niche, our own cultural sector, which is specific, with niche cultural heuristics within the Philippines. So I would say it's very positive, and a great example recently is I'm sure everyone's, especially if you're following the metaverse, Axie Infinity with the play to earn sort of gaming model, or play and earn gaming model, where we saw actually a lot of people in the Philippines, actually in Indonesia as well, able to make a living playing NFT games, online, and basically earning digital currency and then converting that into pesos or rupiah. And some of these sort of glimmers of the future are popping up more and more nowadays. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fussner. It's good to know the situation in the Philippines. It was nice to know the situation over there. 네, Mr. Fussner님께서는 아무래도 일반화하기는 어렵지만 전체적으로 필리핀 분들에게는 이 기술과 문화가 접목된 것에 대해서 굉장히 긍정적인 반응이라고 하셨습니다. 그리고 모든 기술에는 문화가 내재되어 있다고라고 말씀해 주셨습니다. 네, 다음은 다니엘 수루와님께 여쭤보겠습니다. Mr. Surua, could you answer next?
Well, thank you for the question. Generally in Indonesia, technology is changing every aspect of our lives. And the benefits provided by this kind of a new technology and digital approaches are really having a huge impact on our societies. I mean, we experience starting from e-commerce, e-logistics, e-transportation, e-payment, and so forth, right? These are giving a huge impact to our society. But again, I mean, however, one of the greatest challenges in our market or in our country is not about the devices or the software or the hardware or solutions. It is about how we kind of manage the process of cultural change that impacted, right? And as a matter of fact, it influenced everyday life and has a strong influence on our Indonesian culture. So technology is somehow incorporated already in every kind of aspect of culture in Indonesia, including travel, food, government, and art. I mean, art is kind of booming right now, especially as Chris mentioned earlier. I mean, NFT art and so on and so forth is becoming kind of a hype, right? And totally it shapes different culture and kind of a differentiate one from another. Especially Indonesia has, 17,000 islands. It allows us to intermix nicely. But anyway, in short, implementation of how we respond and react on this implementation, it really influences the values of our societies by changing expectations and realities. And we also found out sometimes overemphasizing technology created kind of a lack of trust among people, especially in those places where internet penetration is still like 58%, and the one that own bank account holders is still like 50%. That kind of a transition that we are facing, and there's a response that we are getting from people. But again, I mean, in this case, sometimes all technology that recently came in can also be blamed for few unemployment, but at the same time, it creates new job, new opportunity, and shape kind of a new wave that impacted our culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Surura, for sharing the situation in Indonesia. 네, Mr. 수루와님께서는 이제 인도네시아에서는 점차 나아가고 있다고 하는데요. 아무래도 인도네시아 어디에서나 기술이 삶의 대부분을 변화시키고 있다라고 말씀해 주셨고요. 또 기술이 실업, 문화 지원 등의 변화로 인해서 때로는 비난을 받기도 하지만 또 새로운 일자리를 창출해내고 또 문화에 영향을 미치는 등 긍정적인 부분도 있다라고 말씀해 주셨습니다. 감사합니다. 네, 이번에는 시청자분들께서 채팅창에 올려주신 질문을 선정해 보겠습니다. This time we will receive questions from our live audience. 네, yes, we're receiving many long questions. Yes, let's see which questions we're gonna ask next. 어디 봅시다. 네, 너무 많은 질문을 올려주셨네요. 네. 기술과 문화예술의 만남에 대해서 다양하게 이야기를 들려주셨는데요. 새롭게 도전하고 싶은 영역은 무엇인지 궁금하다는 댓글이 있습니다. 여쭤보겠습니다. So this is a question from a live audience. So are there any new platforms or new areas you would like to challenge yourself into regarding culture and technology? Could we hear from Mr. Fussner first?
New platforms. I would say right now, I guess for myself personally, I've been spending a lot of time on Discord and just basically like hanging out in chat rooms. And I would say like it's this sort of phenomenon between what we have as the clear net, so like the internet where things like Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that is like very indexable. It's very open and public. And then we have a phenomenon of like the dark forest. And I've been like hanging out in the dark forest a little bit more, where it's like maybe more private, like groups of people that are connected over some sort of common interest. Like I'm in some chat rooms that are very much focused on like NFT art. Some chat rooms that are focused on research on internet culture, and these sort of like I call a friend of mine, Arthur, calls them mini-verses. So I just been sort of hanging out in these mini-verses in these chat rooms and hanging out with people that I don't even know their real names, but I know their internet alias and stuff, and we collaborate on work sometimes, and sometimes we just talk and share common interests and knowledge.
So would that be like a game platform, or that sounds like a very diverse online platform?
It's so it's like basically like a universe of chat rooms, and some of these chat rooms are more gaming aligned, and then some of them are more like art and creative aligned, and then some of these chat rooms are more more tech aligned. It's really up to whatever interests you have. You'll find your community within that sort of world. So it's quite different, I think, from current social media dynamic where you sort of just post stuff and you have those interactions on your post, but in terms of actual meaningful engagement, it's sort of, I don't know, it's not really there for me. So I've really been enjoying, in some ways, I think some of the audience will remember like old school chat rooms back in the day, and it's sort of, in a way, going back to this world of like just hanging out in different, I think that the program's called IRC, MIRC, I don't know if anyone remembers that, but yeah, so.
I see. Okay, thank you so much for your comment. 네, Mr. Christopher Foster님께서는 굉장히 다양한 온라인 플랫폼에 도전하고 싶다고 말씀해 주셨는데요. 그게 게임 플랫폼일 수도 있고 또 채팅창일 수도 있고 또 아직은 없지만 좀 더 다양한 플랫폼들에서 소통할 수 있다라고 말씀해 주셨습니다. 네. 네, 다음은 다니엘 수루와 님께 여쭤보겠습니다. Mr. Surua, what are your views regarding to the questions?
Okay, as I and my partners are coming from the AR kind of a background, for us the next upcoming interesting challenges is really to kind of immersing relevance or building relevance into art, culture, content. As you know, Indonesia has so many different, has rich culture and so many different content on art and culture. And we try to build relevance by combining AR platform, NFT, and blockchain. So kind of merging the offline cultural artwork to virtual, and making it more exciting. At the same time, we want to be able to use this platform to kind of promote Indonesian art and culture to the global market in a new way. So not using a conventional way where offline are pushing and in need of a lot of investment, but we're trying to build this relevance into the new virtual world.
I can't wait to see what kind of new virtual world we will be facing in the near future. Thank you so much for your comments, Mr. Surya. 네, 다니엘 수루와님께서는 준비하시는 차세대 빅 이벤트와 메타버스 월드가 있다고 하는데요. 벌써부터 기대가 됩니다. 감사합니다. 네, 다음은 라이오넬 척님께 여쭤보겠습니다. Mr. Chalk, could you give us your thoughts on the question?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much again for panelists for sharing your views as well. But I think the more I listen to the various perspectives and views, I think the more I realize that actually we do have a lot of platforms that many of us are really, using or even being introduced to. And I like to subvert the question in more ways than just answer directly, because I don't think it's the platforms are all encompassing to everybody, be it in Indonesia, Philippines, or Singapore. What I think is missing is the many layers of each platform. For example, last year we had a chance to experiment with a startup company that was trying to build vibration in cloth material for VR. So I think a lot of these layers of platforms are not explored because it doesn't allow different users that are maybe handicapped or visually impaired or even hard of hearing to experience some of these platforms and totally cut them out. So VR, as you know, is very visual. And what if you're able to put on a T-shirt that has got the haptic feedback and allow you to experience VR content in some way? So I think rather than answer or look at the ideas of what rising platforms will come in, I think we need to look deeper into the existing ones and see how we could dive and spread the layers in between. If it's a text, like Discord, can the Discord give you other things like Braille so that the visual impaired can also take part as well? So I think that layer is something that, love to see some of these platform owners explore so that the whole technology space is not just a game for, but can include those that are, hearing impaired, visual impaired, and everybody else who come into the picture as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chalk. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Yes. Thank you once again. 네, Mr. Chalk께서는 이제 다른 나라의 문화와 배경을 엿볼 수 있는 작품을 만들어 보고 싶다고 하셨는데요. 굉장히 다양한 아이디어를 내주셨네요. So, you've heard each other's ideas and plans. Do you have any opinions about the answers for each of you, your answer? Do you have any comments you want to add, or perhaps the three of you could do a collaboration together? What do you think about each other's answers, if you have any thoughts? Mr. Fussner?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, what do you think?
I definitely love the universal design or more accessibility take you have, Lionel, in terms of like how do we bring broader access to these technologies? Because I think a lot of times technology is always designed with like youth in mind, but then like what about like the age, older people or people that can't, have some sort of difficulty, accessing certain senses. So yeah, I thought that was a really nice take on or I guess critique in terms of upcoming platforms, current platforms.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Fussner that Mr. Chalk, the idea, the fact that you're trying to reach out to more people with culture and technology, I think that's beautiful. What about Mr. Suruya? What do you think about other speakers' plans and ideas?
I think it's totally great. I think one of the assets that I got from those other speakers are basically building the relevance, because technology has to be human-centered and it has to connect beyond just a certain age of the group. And what Lionel mentioned and Chris also mentioned earlier, I think it creates a possibility and greater opportunity to do a global collaborations.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chalk, would you like to add on?
Yes, thanks for that. I mean, to add on to my previous sharing, we also understand and see that mobile is not going to go away, right? Everybody that has it now has more than one, and many of the countries in the entire Asia, I would say, are doing more things on their mobile. And I know many countries don't even use laptops now in their work and in their lives. But I think with the mobile also comes with a lot of opportunities as well. I mean, if there were 5-6 people that created an AR experience, on chat with NFC, for example, they could come together in a private setting or in a park and take part in their own exhibition of mobile creation, and then create the canvas for mobile individual exhibition works. So I think the power needs to be coming to the users and creators. And not saying this just because the museums and galleries are no longer important. They are, but I think with so many ideas, there are big ideas that will definitely work in the gallery, but there are also small ideas that can work in the park among small groups of people with mobile. And that will allow people to just join you because you're holding a mobile in a park, you see a stranger, you're like, hey, you want to check out my work, and then validate from there. And take that into the gallery and say, I sat in the park for one weekend, 100 people came to see my work, would you like to see it? I think there was many of these explorations that can be considered with devices that are closer and closer to what we use every day.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chalk, for your profound answer. 네, 여러분 벌써 마지막 질문입니다. 네, 앞으로 한 아세안이 함께하는 미래, 어떤 새로운 상상을 하고 계신지 들어보겠습니다. So this is the last question. If ASEAN and ROK gets to engage more actively in the future, what kind of new collaborations would you like to work on together? Could we start with Mr. Surya this time?
Okay. Well, okay. I would love to definitely have a close global collaboration, especially with maybe Chris and Lionel, but also with the next gen content, right? The content developers, tech players, futurists that has some vision in shaping this cultural exchange without borders. Looking forward to connect. That's what I'm expecting, and what kind of work that I'm in more detail. I have still not formulated, but looking at more a kind of a collaboration.
Wow, thank you so much for your answer. 네, 다니엘 수로아님께서는 국경의 경계 없이 문화 교류에 대해 동일한 비전을 가지고 협력하고 싶다라고 말씀해 주셨습니다. 네, 다음으로는 라이오넬 척님께 여쭤보겠습니다. Mr. Chalk, could you share your thoughts, please?
Oh yeah, sure. I think the ASEAN-ROK really has been an eye-opening platform to hear and listen from so many artists from so many different countries. I don't normally have this kind of opportunity. Just hearing the panel itself was very eye-opening for me. And I think beyond just an event like this, imagine new artists coming out from school or in school and trying to find a way to start. Sorry, was I muted? So was I muted? I can go again.
Oh yes, sorry, there was some kind of lag due to the network.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes.
So I wanted to share again that this summit has been an eye-opener because I was able to see and hear a lot of the happenings from different Asian countries and different panelists, and basically provided a lot of ideas, that could be actually passed down and introduced to new creators. And I always have a thing for new or young, artists that's coming into the picture. Maybe they have an opportunity to touch base with their university lecturers or their artists in their own location. But imagine having this chance to see a lot of works across different countries. So I think if there was a channel whereby, ASEAN-ROK has always been a way for sort of a channel to allow different artists to come onto either a website or a chat room and allow different artists to ask questions. Could be a 15-year-old that says, I just discovered VR, what do I do next? I think a lot of these channels will allow new, fresh young talents to start. But we also know that young talents have a lot of channels. And if there was a way to introduce this across ages and start to introduce 50-year-old, 60-year-old, who are definitely not too late to explore maybe AR art, then at least we will be able to allow them to see that the barriers to getting started is much lower because there are a lot of these panelists or even artists from around the region just giving them a hand and listening to them.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chalk. I'm sure many young talents would be eager to have you as their mentor. Thank you. 네, Mr. Chalk께서는 AR과 VR 분야에서 신인 아티스트들의 멘토로 참여하고 싶다라고 말씀해 주셨는데요. 굉장히 흥미로운 대답이었습니다. 감사합니다. 네, 마지막으로는 크리스토 퍼스너님께 여쭤보겠습니다. Next up, can we hear from Mr. Fussner?
Hi. I would definitely enjoy some sort of transdisciplinary residency program on Jeju Island with Daniel and Lionel or something like that.
On Jeju Island?
On a more serious note, it would be great to have something more interdisciplinary, especially in relation to fintech and relation to the finance aspect of these digital economies in the creator economies, because it's great, we have all these amazing technologies, but I really think one of the biggest missing puzzles here is how do artists, designers, and musicians and creatives or just content creators get paid in an equitable way going forward, and I think we've already seen some breakthroughs in that with like, you know, recent streaming platforms and things like Patreon and stuff. But I really think that's something that would be really interesting to have, like, you know, fintech, wallet, you know, payment processing people, and then you have like artists and creative platform people in the same room and just sort of discussing, you know, I guess, digital economy and how to unlock that going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Fostner, for your comment. What was it with the Jeju Island part? Could you repeat that part? Yes, I would love to hear it once again.
You know, maybe a residency in the summertime in Jeju Island with Daniel, Lionel. We can do a ASEAN-ROK conference there. That would be really nice.
A conference there. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
to invite everyone. Yeah, I mean, the metaverse is nice, Zoom is nice, but it'd be cool to meet in real life.
I see. Yeah. That's very interesting. Thank you so much for your comment.
I think Chris just wants to travel again.
네, 크리스토퍼 퍼스너님께서 다양한 이야기를 해주셨는데요. 그 중에서 기억에 남았던 거는 이제 제주도에 가서 이제 세 분 연사분들과 함께 좋은 시간을 보내고 싶다라고도 해주셨고요. 또 다양한 문화, 다양한 언어를 사용하는 사람들과 더 다양한, 더 활발한 활동, 더 활발한 협업을 하고 싶다라고 말씀해 주셨습니다. Okay, thank you so much, all of you, for your wonderful speeches, and I thank you so much for taking the time to do this live meeting with us. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hope to see you soon again.